Thank you so much, Dean and Doug, for coming to have a chat with me this evening before we unveil the HR Most Influential Rankings for 2014. So I really wanted to talk about leadership and how leadership has changed kind of since the recession as we move into recovery, what the kind of changing dynamics of leadership are and what that means for HR. So I don't know, Doug, do you want to kick us off?
Well, I think since the end of the recession, and thankfully we're kind of well out of that now, it's all about honesty. I think business, commerce, government, institutions, everybody has had a dose of let's be honest and straightforward with our people, whether that's our customers or whether it's our colleagues. And I think that's a key thing. And increasingly institutions have been called out for a lack of those things in the past. Even this week, there's been something else. So I think key thing for business and HR especially is to be authentic, to be straightforward with your employees, colleagues, and with your customers. And you should be saying the same thing to your colleagues as indeed you say to the market or the customers.
And Dean, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting, isn't it, in terms of coming out of recession, because it probably doesn't quite feel like that in the public sector yet. So the public sector, I think, was a bit later going into the recession. At the time the recession hit, much of the public sector was in 2- and 3-year pay deals, which sort of run their course. So we're playing catch-up in that regard in terms of dealing with it, and that's making it more challenging in the sense that people in the public sector can see things picking up in the private sector, want to know where their pay increases are and those sorts of things. But I would absolutely agree with Doug that it's about sort of trust and honesty. And also I think, given the recession, an opportunity to sort of reconnect with purpose. You know, what is it that we're here for, and what is it that we're trying to do, and how do we best do that through our people?
What do you think HR's role in that? Because I think HR traditionally is sometimes seen as not particularly trusted function. It's the HR police, or they're going to make us all redundant. So what is HR's role in kind of building this more authentic leadership model?
Well, certainly HR, my view of HR is not that, incidentally. My view of HR is it's absolutely in the centre of business, it's in the centre of setting strategy, it's in the centre of setting a policy which buys in employees and colleagues and also buys in customers. I think HR's role specifically is to join those two communities up, colleagues, customers, within an environment. It's about getting in the middle of those two, and in fact the environment also, so all three, right in the centre of that. I think it's a fantastic opportunity, because I think most HR professionals are in that space psychologically to begin with, and there's an opportunity to grow on that.
I absolutely agree with Doug in terms of the role of HR, and I think that one of the things the recession taught us, and I sort of reflect on, is that when we used to talk about HR being seen as a business function, for many people they saw that as being a finance function. So there was an emphasis on the bottom right-hand corner of the balance sheet, and as long as that was in the black, it didn't really matter how we got there. I think what the recession's taught us is that's not a business function. A business function is about connecting with purpose. You know, how do we provide great products and services? And if we're good at that, then we make a profit or surplus, or we run a good business on that. So that what I see is the opportunity, is that reconnecting back into a business function, aligning those sort of people and customer strategies so that we can deliver those great products and services.
I think interesting in that is I've got great faith in the upcoming younger generation. I'm not sure in the public sector how that's seen, but I think that the ethical values of the younger generation are perhaps more akin to how business and indeed public sector should be moving in the future. And I think another part of HR's function just now, more key than ever, is to try and bring that younger generation through and encourage those more deeply found ethical values that seem to be different from my generation, or perhaps even yours.
No, and I think that's absolutely right. And in the public sector, in many ways, we should have the advantage in that. You know, people go to work for the NHS or local authority of social services or education because they have a deep sort of understanding and a deep connection with those issues. So our opportunity is to maximise that and sort of draw on it and make it central to organisation and people strategy.
One of the things I think is interesting is, do you think you can train somebody to be more authentic? So when we talk about authentic leadership, are we talking about developing people in a different way, or are we actually going back to selection, being like, you either got it or you haven't?
Personally, from a business point of view, I think you can't necessarily change somebody's personality or their psyche, but you can create an environment in which the right things flourish. And I think that is the job. It's to make sure the environment is pure and correctly focused, as well as making sure that businesses and organisations thrive. But it's about making sure that environment's there and encouraging the right behaviours. And I think hopefully we'll find that people come with that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a bit of both. So there's trying to recruit for the values of the organisation, putting more emphasis on getting the right people in the first place. It's not saying that they're bad people that work in different places, but just that they're in tune with the organisation and what it stands for. And then sort of living those in the organisation and conditioning people to that. So what gets rewarded and recognised is about living those values out. So I think there is a development role there, both in the way that we performance manage people and the way that we train and develop them within the organisation.
And looking forward, personally, I think it's a really exciting time to be in HR. It feels like a bit of a tipping point. If you can grab that opportunity, there is a real chance to make a huge difference. So what do you think are the kind of major opportunities for HR leaders if we kind of forecast forward the next 12 to 18 months?
I think it's about accentuating what's important within an environment, making sure that the values of a business or an organisation are in line, are firstly realistic, and are in line with the commercial needs of those organisations, and making sure that people who are attracted to, retained, trained and developed within are in line with those values. I think that's the main thing for me.
Yeah. Well, I see two immediate opportunities spring to mind. I think there's something about maximising the use of social media. So I still see too many HR folk that are tied into the conservative approach about where it can go wrong. The benefits that we see as an opportunity to engage with our staff and for our staff to engage with customers, with patients and service users is enormous. And we've sort of got to do that and get that right in terms of a much more permissive approach to that. And then I think there's something about, again, this is my sort of reflection on the recession really, which is in our policy development, I think too often we've tried to produce policies that are in place of managers managing. And I'd much rather that we're looking at things that allowed managers the time to manage, but gave them some sort of guidance rather than a strict list of rules that they can sort of use. And managers then say, well, I would like you to take, I'd let you take annual leave, but HR say I can't because there can only be 3 people off at once. And just let managers sort of manage in that context. I think that's a real opportunity, sort of post-recession, as we sort of go into a new approach to how we manage people within organisations. Those two things, I think, stand out as immediate opportunities to me.
And I agree. If I pick up on the social media point of view, I think, or perspective, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for competent HR leaders to connect more easily with employees and the community. And I think they should take that challenge rather than stand back and think it's something to do with compliance and control and let's be cautious. I think the opportunity is there for those people.
I absolutely agree.
Thank you very much, Dean and Doug, and thank you for watching.